All right, let me know when you guys can hear me. Should be going live now. Let's see, I'll move this over. Well, let's set it up. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I'm doing the end of month stream a week early. Usually I would have done it next Sunday, but here's the truth. I have a Navi card arriving that I'm going to review. I have 2 podcasts that I will be recording with guests near the end of the week. And I've actually got other things going on that weekend too. There's just no way I would have time to do this next weekend. So even though I've been releasing a million videos a day, it would be best to just get this out of the way now. And you guys have been asking for a live stream in all my recent videos. So let's just do it early, and get going. Okay. And yeah, I do like my shirt too. You guys believe in your dreams. Come on. Like, a Shiba Inu and a taco in outer space. What could give you bigger hopes than that? Okay, so as usual, every month it seems like I have twice as many subscribers. So just as a rundown how this works, I have premium patrons. They ask me questions that I will do research ahead of time and answer right in the beginning. So the first 15 minutes is the questions of my premium members, but they're always good questions. I only answer good questions, and my premium guys really know how to ask a good question. So stay tuned for that. And then I'll go through loose ends from my videos for 10 minutes. And then it's Q&A for 30 minutes to an hour, where if you tip me, I'll answer a question, or I'll just answer interesting questions that I decide to answer. But if you tip me, you'll get an answer no matter what. And also save the questions for about 20 minutes from now. But the first question comes from Daniel Caish. I hope I'm saying that correctly. NetBurst subscriber. Thank you. He says, do you feel the upcoming big Navi cards will be pushing larger memory sizes across the product here, especially if AMD plans to have a product competing with Titan RTX at 24 gigabytes? Perhaps maybe they might even offer 32. Actually, love this question, Danielle. Thank you for asking it. I think right now AMD has enough RAM. 8 gigabytes is enough for mid-range now, for sure. And 12 to 16 is good for high end. However, I could see them going above 16 gigabytes for a limited number of cards if they destroyed Titan RTX. But if they don't destroy Titan RTX, I think they're just going to save money and not bother, right? Why would you bother with such an expensive card? I just don't really see that happening. But again, why would they do it? Well, if they have 12 gigabyte cards that compete with the 2080 Ti, and then they make an HBM powered card that beats the Titan RTX by a solid amount, actually beats it by 10-20%. I don't know. I think Sapphire might make and it'd be expensive, guys, $2,000 32 gigabyte version. But I think that's what it would take. Only if they can basically twist the knife in the back would I think they would go for a gigantic RAM buffer. Okay, but I hope they do, because that would be awesome. And of course, they might make an RDNA Frontier card that's a 32 gigabyte version of a professional card for double the money too. I could kind of see that. All right, and here comes from my unlocked fourth core subscribers. Paul Muston asks, asks, on stealing the GPU crown, any thoughts on the approach taken on a dual Radeon Pro Vega 2 graphics or RDNA card, a la what's in the Mac Pro? And the idea of chiplets, all of that. Honestly, I just don't think dual cards are coming to desktop anytime soon. People seem to ask me this every end of month live stream, but I just don't see the point in making a dual card until it works at the driver level, which I think is AMD and even NVIDIA's goal at this point. They both agree, let's get it in DX12 or Vulkan at the driver level. The amount of effort it takes to make Crossfire work just isn't worth it. It isn't worth the tens of thousands of man hours to make Crossfire work for 1% of gamers. It's just not there. Eventually I think we will move to multi-GPU setups to scale performance, but I don't think that's happening outside of specific scenarios. I could see it in a console, makes sense in Mac. How many graphics cards are actually supported in the Mac drivers? Not that many. It makes sense to program for Mac. And honestly, I think it would be cool if we could see some benchmarks of the few games you can play on Apple products to see if they actually worked perfectly with the dual Vega card. That would be interesting. But I think that's the only places you're going to see that as specialized use cases. But they'll be really good in those use cases. All right. Now, who I used to call Mohammed, which is wrong. If you listen to the podcast, me and my brother laughed. He says it's actually Mielvin is how you would say it. It's a Gaelic name. Tell me if I'm wrong if you're listening, but I think it's Mielvin then. Do you think any of the next gen consoles, PS5, Scarlet, etc., will have support for Steam or competitors to Steam libraries, Origin libraries, all that? People had access to the collection they built upon the services from a console. It would help the value proposition for a higher price console. So Xbox is going to be compatible, backwards compatible. We know that. In fact, I think they said their controllers will be forwards compatible with the next Xbox. So your library on Xbox is carrying over. Same with PlayStation 5. They've already said it's backwards compatible. It would be insane if it wasn't. Of course it will be. So getting a more expensive console so you can play The Last of Us maybe in 8K now, that might be fun. I mean, that's how much stronger the PS5 will be. I'm not saying it'll be able to run mini games in 8K, but I could see one of those PS3 games that was ported to PS4 be upscaled even further to like 4K 120 hertz or something silly. So there's a good argument to get a stronger, more expensive console as well. Additionally, it would not surprise me if the next Xbox specifically was literally running Windows 10. I mean, literally a version of Windows 10 that could run Word. That level, but that it came with a Steam OS version of Windows that was backwards compatible with all of Xbox and allowed you to boot it up like it's an Xbox. But if you want to run a Steam game, go for it. Try it out. That wouldn't surprise me. Now, that's not confirmed, but that's the scenario where you get to play your Steam library on a console. It would be Xbox, most likely, and it would be on an Xbox that's literally a Windows 10 gaming rig that they are selling for less money because it's made in such high volumes. Remember, to people who say, how could they make a Windows 10 device that's the next Xbox compete with PlayStation effectively? Easy. Just because it's running Windows 10 doesn't mean Xbox doesn't get a good deal for, selling the same GPU in bulk, even if it's a custom GPU. That's worth mentioning. And then the next question, also from Melvin, do you think we will see more cross-platform licensing akin to Xbox Anywhere? Yeah, I do. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if PlayStation started bringing you the ability to play some of their games on for free on PS Now on Windows, or even just literally play it on Windows. That would not surprise me at all. Or if they made some kind of PlayStation app, that streams. Well, they already had that, right, for streaming PlayStation out to Android. So yeah, I think you're going to see more and more and more of that. The point is, these companies make money if you play their games. So they should put them everywhere. It's like the people who become fanboys and go, I hope Xbox games don't come to PlayStation or whatever. And it's like, don't you want more people to play good games? Heavy Rain, Detroit Become Human is coming to Windows. Cool. They're great games. You should play them, guys. Okay. And the next questions come from 123897612YSD. Okay. You just have a seizure on your keyboard. No offense. Looking beyond Zen 2 Threadripper Epic, what are your thoughts on 4th gen Ryzen? And I assume you mean Zen 4 specifically. I actually have a lot of thoughts on Zen 4, but none of them are confirmed yet. None of them are enough for me to make a Whispers of Zen 4 video, though I suspect I'll be able to make one within a year. For those who want to know Zen 4 info or what I think of it, you might also be curious what, Cortex thinks of it. We will be doing a podcast. The next Broken Silicon podcast should be a one-on-one with me and Cortex talking about what we think the end goal of Zen is. What is coming after Zen 3? What is AMD's ultimate goal? That's what's coming. I also have another podcast after that with a server engineer talking about what's going on. How bad is Intel's problem in the server space? So just so you guys know, the more you support me, the more you share. As you can see, my quality is going up, and the more subscribers I get, the more I can get bigger and bigger channels to talk with me. And hopefully I'll just start talking to real people in the industry. Like, like an interview with Raja would be awesome. My ultimate dream would be to smoke a cigar with Raja and eat some ice cream. That guy clearly loves cigars and ice cream. And I do too. I mean, who doesn't? And additionally, he asks, will Zen 3 have 3 or 4-way SMT? Yeah, I mean, watch my guys. I just made it a focus again. Watch my Whispers of Zen 3 video. I know my voice is out of sync. Maybe I'll redo the video, but watch it. I break down what Zen 3 is going to be. That's what got me my giant jump from like 4,000 to 10,000 subscribers. Really was jump started. Honestly, I think it was from like 2,000 subscribers. Was my Whispers of Zen 3 video when I connected the dots, I think before other channels did. Watch it. A lot of good stuff in there. Most of it is still exactly what I think is going to happen with Zen 3. I'll update it when I think there's something different. Maybe replace the video, but I'm not doing that yet. Maybe I'll make like a Whispers of Zen 3 remastered edition. And again, for those who don't know, Zen 3 die shrinking the IO die to 7 nanometer. Because again, guys, that IO die uses like half the energy of Zen. So they'll do that to remove like 25% energy. And then they'll probably move to either 7 nanometer plus, which is 7 nanometer EUV, or 6 nanometer EUV. Again, I think 6 nanometer EUV for Zen 3 is a big move that they should do, which would be, yeah, because then you could cut down performance again, and you have just enough space to maybe move to 10 cores per CCX. So 10, 20 cores, 30 threads per core. 30 threads per core. 20 cores, 60 threads. That's what I think could happen. And then I think server would be something like 80 cores, 320 threads. I think they'll limit 3 threads per core to Threadripper. At least I don't think they'll give you 4 threads because frankly, I don't think you need it. But that's what I think. Oh, and then stacked 1 gigabyte of RAM on the die, acting as a massive 1 gigabyte L4 cache. That's what we think Zen 3 is going to be. And again, me and Cortex will talk about what we think Zen 4 is, because Zen 4 could be bigger than Zen 3 is. AMD's not slowing down, guys. Like Intel better be doing something with Jim Keller. That's all I'm saying. And one more question here, no name, but every now and then I pick out a name for a thing from YouTube people who respond to me notifying you guys I'm doing a live stream. When do you think we get 7 nanometer mobile APUs in DDR5? Late next year. I think right now AMD is going to focus on the cheap APU still maybe being 12 nanometer, and then they will bring out Zen 2 RDNA APUs at the end of this year or probably early next year. And then after that is when you'll start to get Zen 3 DDR5 APUs. Again, guys, Zen 3 APUs could be a skull crusher event in the laptop market. Imagine a 6-core, 18-thread APU that uses like 25 watts and has RDNA graphics, RDNA 2.0 graphics. It would be insane. Okay, so that's those questions. Let's move on to things from this month. First of all, Ryzen SMT. I did a video on that, and it's half wrong, although not entirely sure. I was up till 3 a.m. last night talking to the Aussie bro, Steve Walton at Hardware Unboxed, about his testing. He still hasn't released it. He's waiting for feedback from AMD, and he also sees some other channels got other results. That it seems like it's not like if you turn off SMT, at least not yet. It doesn't seem like you get a big across-the-board performance boost from the 12-core 3900X. It seems like half of the games get a boost, half of the games get a performance decrease. That's why I changed the turtle title to turn off SMT in half your games. All of a sudden, it's better than the 9900K. At least illustrating the big point is, guys, the 9900K and the 3900X are neck and neck in performance. If you're really just freaking out about that 5% performance boost 9900K has over it, technically you could just turn off SMT and Metro, and all of a sudden, here we go. We're better than the 9900K. That's how stupid the performance difference is. Here's really the point of the 3900X and the 9900K. If what you do is game, you should not be getting the 3900X to have an AMD gaming rig. What you should be doing is getting a 3600 for half or almost a third the overall cost, because that's within 10%. The 3600 non-X is within like 10% of the gaming performance of the 9900K for a third the price. That's what you should be doing. And then you get the 3900X not to catch up with the 9900K, but to have the ability to have great mixed and gaming workloads. That's what the point of the 3900X is. That will be the point of the 3950X, especially if I get it. Yes, it's going to game better than the 3600 technically by like 5-10%, but here's the thing. If I get the 3950X, it's not for gaming. Shouldn't be for anyone. 3600 is the ultimate gaming CPU. Now, that's what it is. And there is some evidence, some of that SMT awkwardness on Ryzen 3900X might be because it's using two CCXs. I think Gamers Nexus found that you definitely get an on-average performance increase with the 3600 if you turn off SMT. But if you watch DeBauer's delineing of the 3600, you see that it only has one CCX there. So maybe there's some kind of scheduling latency issue if you have two CCXs and disable SMT. That's my current theory. Someone else brought it up to me on YouTube. I think that's actually a good theory of what's going on there. And maybe AMD will fix it in further Windows revision updates. But at least that's what it seems like right now. So yeah, if you want the ultimate gaming CPU, it actually might be the 3800X with SMT turned off at 4.6 gigahertz. I guess that might actually be what it is, since it only uses one CCX. Okay, another thing I need to cover. Radeon 7. Not going to do a video about it, but it looks like it doesn't support PCIe 4.0. At least that looks like a driver bug. Some people reached out to me finally and confirmed that. And so my dream of being able to use PCIe 4.0 with my 1.2 terabyte per second Radeon 7 has been squashed for now. Hopefully someone will find a way to hack drivers to allow that. If it is possible, it might be disabled at a hardware level though, so that no one buys Radeon 7s in bulk instead of MI 50s or 60s, because you would if you could do that, wouldn't you? Okay, did that one. Oh yeah, I want to hit some things here about the laptop video. I don't have my NV13 review out yet, although it's 25 minutes long and it's up there. I got 3 videos ready to drop, guys. I joined a minute late because I just finished rendering my Whispers of Arcturus video. Actually, you guys will probably love that one. Arcturus looks pretty cool. Honestly, AMD's Arcturus, I think. That'll come out next week. But the Envy review, one thing I found going from a KB Lake i7 to a Whiskey Lake i7 and an MX150 to an MX250 is the gaming performance actually almost doubled in some games. Now, the Whiskey Lake i7 is definitely booting 20 to 30% higher. Again, don't underestimate Intel, guys. Their best yields are on laptop. If they bring it to desktop, they can probably keep up with Zen 2 slightly. Of course, they won't be able to keep up with a 16 core, but they can still probably make a 10 core that does okay against the 3900X. That's my opinion. But that 30% boost from the CPU, the 20% boost I got from the MX250 doesn't explain why some games are performing twice as well. And I think it's the RAM. My new NV13 compared to my 2017 model has RAM it has 2400 megahertz instead of 1600, so 50% faster memory. Yeah, I think that's what it is. If you're still on DDR3, and I'm sure some people are, just keep that in mind. Even on an MX, like even on a GT 1030 and quad-core i7, which is way stronger than the GT 1030, I had like a 50% or doubling of performance in some games, like the Division 2 and Battlefield, with a 50% RAM increase. There's some giant bottlenecks going on there. So keep that in mind, guys. If you still have DDR3, if it's below 2133 megahertz, you're running into problems in some of these games. I just really think you guys got to know that. That's one of the biggest takeaways I got from that review, actually, in testing. What else is going on? So I told you I got 3 more videos coming out soon. Well, I'm on a business trip. I got those podcasts coming up. Yeah, so a couple more things then. Watch all my videos, guys. No one wants to watch my MX250 review, but it actually tells you how to overclock laptop chips. Well, I know you might not be interested in that, but I found some really interesting things with NVIDIA's graphics card. The same is true of my i7-8705G review, which was a KB Lake R Vega M APU. like that. Those are interesting videos, guys. You don't need to ignore them. I know you just want me to talk about RDNA nonstop. Clearly, those get the most views, but try it out. Maybe try out some of my other stuff. It's pretty good. And additionally, a lot of you have been asking, when is the next celebration? I'm already, I think, at 13,000 subscribers, if I'm correct. I think I was at 9,000 just a month ago. Less than a month ago, I was at 9,000. The next celebration where I might do a special live stream or one-on-ones with you guys is 16,384. I don't do 10,000 or 20,000. I did 7,970, and now I did 4096, then 7970, and now I'm going to do 16384 because that's how much RAM is in my Radeon 7. I see no point at celebrating at 20,000 or 10,000. Let's break the difference. Let's do it at 16,384. That's when I'll do another celebration live stream. So look out for that. And the sooner all those people subscribing who watch my videos who haven't subscribed yet, the sooner we will get to another one of those. Okay, so that's all of the loose ends. Let me pour a beer for Q&A so I can get a little ranty for you guys and have some more energy here. Someone's going to ask, it's Trois Pistoles by Unabrew. It's a really good Belgian dark ale, I gotta say. Okay, so Q&A starts now. If you tip me, you'll definitely get an answer. And otherwise, I'm just going to pick what I want to pick. All right. Let's see, I'll even scroll up a little bit and see if there were any good questions. Oh boy. I'm not saying that one out loud. That was pretty funny what someone said they're doing though, I saw where you said you were sharing my videos to troll. It's a little funny. But I don't want bullshit, so. If I broke one chiplet for the 3900X, would it still work? Probably not, dude. Try it out, though, if you want. No, don't. It's going to break it. I almost guarantee that will break it. I mean, I don't think that would work. I think how about this? Go get an HD 6990 and hit one of the dies with a hammer and tell me if it still works, or a 295X2. Pretty sure it's going to break. One thing I will say I saw that was goofy, just so you guys can know when it comes to breaking a card to make it do something. I saw a guy who had like a 4870 and he didn't care, right? So he wanted to fit a 4870 in a tiny motherboard that only had a PCIe times 2 or times 2 lane. So it had one of those, like a times 16 slot is this long. He had a times 2 slot, so he couldn't fit his 4870 in it. So he took a jigsaw and he sanded off part of the 16 slot on the graphics card, and he measured it out perfectly so it was the 2 lanes instead of the 16, and it worked. He said he plugged it in so it could fit in there, and it actually worked. So just so you guys know, if you sawed off half of your 16 slot to make it a times 8 slot, it should still work with your graphics card, which I think I actually accidentally did that with my 7970, and it worked at times 4 just fine. Yeah, so that's something you guys probably didn't know. All right. Yeah, a lot of people agree it will break it if you hit your CPU with a hammer. Why did I start to make YouTube videos? MX150. I found a way to turn my 10-watt MX150 into an 8-watt GT1030. And I made a video about it 14 months ago, guys. I made a video about it. It's still unlisted. Someday maybe I'll show you it, but it's horrible. It's so gimmicky and bad. It's so bad. It's so bad, you guys. It's so bad. And then I waited like 4 months, and then Cortex made a video that I actually disagreed with. We'll probably talk about that in the podcast. I half disagreed with, and it was about Vega. I made a Vega video talking about how I thought there was no way it would get GDR6. And that video was also pretty bad, so I pulled it just because I thought like I looked like I was rambling the whole time. Though a lot of people seem to know what I meant, so I got like 20 subscribers. And then I saw and then my next video was seeing Intel pay for that review where they literally turned off half the cores for the 2700X. just what a joke. And I had to make a video called like the last gasps of a dying empire, Intel, you know. And then I did my reality check one, which somehow got 4,000 views when all my videos were getting 100 views. And so that got me to like 50 or 60 subscribers. At that point, I started growing exponentially from there. Once you get to about 100 subscribers, you'll grow if your content's good. It takes a lot of guerrilla marketing, though, to get to that. You just got to spam your shit on Reddit and in WCCF and just hope you can get to like 100 subscribers. If you do, you'll probably have 10 subscribers who like your stuff and will share it, and it will grow. That's what happened. Is the GPU, I like this, T-Nix, is the GPU market big enough for a third competitor? Yes, and it's big enough for a fourth competitor and a fifth. We've had more than two before. Absolutely it is. You know what? The console market's good for 5 competitors. Although we all know it will eventually grow to 3 because some of them will just start sucking. Was that really me on Seeking Alpha? Yes. I've been posting on Seeking Alpha for a year. I do a lot of swing trades and investing. And yeah, I argue with investors there. So that's just so you guys know, right? I am most knowledgeable actually on Bitcoin, and I am writing a Bitcoin article, and I will do a video on it. And it should have come out 2 weeks ago, but I'm not rushing that because I have to get it right. And after that, I do a lot of investing and market research stuff. I am an account manager. I work in the automotive industry, actually. I like politics and investing stuff the most. But when I looked at and this is kind of like what Chris talked about in the Good Old Gamer, when I looked at what was going on, I saw all good tech websites falling apart, and I got mad. And I'm like, the low-hanging fruit is the tech channel and like the tech channel, because I can make a good tech channel quickly here, because look at how horrible these tech channels are acting. Obviously not the ones I like talking to. You literally have tech channels where they're just copy and pasting WCCF articles and calling themselves analysts. You literally have tech channels where they can't read their own graphs and see that Navi is stronger than Super. Like, that's what made me want to do it too, is just like, so get ready for that. I have a politics channel. When I quit my job, that'll become bigger. And I will probably do like a comedy and other like interesting channels as well. But for now, it's this, because this is the low-hanging fruit, man. Like, this industry needs to get its shit together. All journalism does, but especially gaming and PC journalism. It's just a dumpster fire. All right, let's see. Let me pour a little more in here. So far, I'm having enough fun to keep going. If you only game at 3, this is from Goreboy 1980. If you only game at 3440 by 1440, did it make sense for you to upgrade from a 2700? No, guys. And here's the thing I want to be clear about. I've been talking about this with my Discord members. I don't think Ryzen 1 or Ryzen 1000 or 2000 are going away soon. You can only make a multi-chiplet design so cheap, right? That IO die is about as big as Vega, and even though it's made on a super dirt cheap process with great yields now, it can only get to around 150, 180. I think most people say about $200. 3600 is about the cheapest you're going to make it. So with that mindset, then I think they're going to keep Ryzen 1000 and 2000 around for another year until they get Zen 3 out, and until, like I told you guys, not that many people watched that video. AMD's got a new sister architecture coming out that should be 6 to 8 core monolithic die APUs. That is a replacement for Bobcat and Kabini that will take their $100 to $150 price range and run with it. That's what AMD's working on right now. But until then, dude, $100 R5 1600s, $120 R5 3600s, and $150 R7 2700s are king. They're 65 watts. They compete at the same power level as i3s, and they have 6 and 8 cores. You don't need one. You don't need a cheap Zen 2 6-core for $100. You can already get a Zen 1 6-core for $100, and it's every bit as good as what a lower clocked Zen 2 would be. So just buy that. Don't be afraid to get Zen 1 or Zen Plus CPUs still. They're great. If you game at 60 frames a second, it's a budget build. It's going to be awesome. And soon they'll be competing with 5 gigahertz quad core 8 thread i3s, by the way. That'll be fun to watch, I think. All right, let's see. Someone did say one interesting thing. This this isn't already a comedy channel. I try to be funny, dudes. Just so you know, I do stand-up comedy too. I haven't done it for a while since I started this channel, but so yeah, you can definitely expect a comedy channel eventually. But yeah, I try to be funny when I can. Let's see. Mr. J, PC, thank you for the tip, by the way. You will definitely get a full answer now. PCIe Gen 4 M2 as my main boot gaming drive. Yeah, so this is, you don't need PCIe 4.0, but I will say this. I have SSD RAID. I built this system to be awesome 3 years ago. Luckily, I've been able to turn it into a decent workstation when I made this channel without making a full upgrade. I'll get to more of that in a second. I use SSD RAID, and even with that, I'm sometimes bottlenecking while rendering. So at least for me, I'm going to get a big 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte PCIe 4.0 drive. I'm just going to. I know it's going to cost an arm and a leg, but fuck it. And then I'm going to have a couple of SATA SSDs for backup storage. I'll have a hot swap bay to back up stuff on SSDs and put them in a safe so I don't lose any data. That type of stuff is what I'm going to do. Not everyone needs that, though. But just so you know, if you do rendering, 4.0 is a big deal. 4.0 SATA, 4.0 SSD drives are huge. We have been bottlenecked at 3.0 for look at how fast we went from 2.0 to 3.0 and then just nothing. 4.0 is big and 5.0 will be nice as well. For that reason, Intel's basically not an option for me anymore, unless they actually put PCIe 4.0 on Comet Lake and their 10-core just crushed it. Unless that happens, I just can't even consider Intel anymore, not just for the security reasons, but just because, seriously, PCIe 4.0 is future-proofing. We're already seeing 5 to 10% performance boosts on Navi as well, something that also pisses me off these tech websites are clearly hiding. They benchmark a Navi card on a 9900K, even though I've seen some tech channels show that Navi gets a 5-10% boost with a Zen 2 rig because of 4.0. So right there, right? Benchmark, I want to see it, 2070 Super, which is already very close to the 5700 XT. I bet they're tied when you use Zen 2. It's just ridiculous that people are ignoring that kind of stuff. Now, let me zoom down more. No tips. So, and thanks for the tips again, Mr. J. I hope I answered your question well. What do you think Intel will come into? Speak out and remove all doubt. Longtime follower. What level do you think Intel will come into the market and win? Well, Intel's going to have 10 nanometer coming to laptops soon. This will be like the Broadwell situation, let's call it, where and I loved Broadwell, to be clear. They're not clocked as fast, but they're going to give you a big IPC boost, some cool features, and it'll be hyper efficient. This is why I think Ice Lake is actually a big deal, why I think AMD needs Zen 3 to take the laptop market. Zen 2 isn't going to cut it when Ice Lake comes out. Already, it's going to take Zen 2 to be a little better than what they have now. And let me tell you guys, again, I have a 15-watt, 4.6 gigahertz quad core in my new NV13, and it maintains turbo boost even at like 50% usage at about 3.5 gigahertz. That's crazy for 10 to 15 watts. Going to 10 nanometer, it won't clock as high, but it should. I believe they will give it an 18% IPC boost. And so at 3.5 gigahertz, it'll probably keep a 3 gigahertz turbo boost with an 18% IPC increase at 10 watts. That's gonna be really good. So they're going to enter the laptop market at 10 nanometer. I don't believe Intel for a fucking second, though, that they're bringing 10 nanometer server chips out. At least I'll need to see it to believe it. And I could maybe see a token desktop launch, kind of like the i7 5775C Broadwell on desktop. I could see a token 10 nanometer launch if they can get it to at least 4 gigahertz. An 18% IPC increase would mean maybe they could bring some interesting quad core i5s with 8 threads to the desktop market on 10 nanometer, but I don't think it's going to come in any meaningful way. And I've been thinking about it. If they could increase in density a little bit, I believe Intel's 10 nanometer is at 9.8 nanometer, actually. So if they increase density a little bit, which they usually do with improvements, so 10 nanometer plus, 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 it would not surprise me if Intel called their 10 nanometer plus, plus, plus 9 nanometer. And that's when they came to market. So 9 nanometer on desktop, and then they'll probably come a year later with 7 nanometer. And then we'll see if they can compete with AMD's 5 nanometer. I wouldn't bet on it, but that's how I see it. I see 10 nanometer on laptop, token 10 nanometer on desktop, and eventually a 9 nanometer rolls in too for like a year. And then they finally hit 7 nanometer in 2022 with a new architecture from Jim Keller. That's how I see it. It's going to be a rough 2 years, though. 2020 and 2021 is not going to be nice to Intel. All right, let me scroll down here. Do you guys, this is from D site. Do you guys think it's worth it to buy an X470, a good board? Because some of those have PCI 4.0 support, by the way. I can't say I might not get a 470 board. And a 3600 and then upgrade to top Ryzen 4000. Well, I don't know. I think it will probably still be supported on there. But there's no promises. There's a chance Zen 3 may move to a new chipset to really take advantage of that 1 gigabyte of L4 cache, the new threads. I don't know. But it doesn't necessarily mean it will. What I will say is that 3600 will last you 5 years anyways. I hope that's a good answer. All right, let me keep going. I'm full of crap that Navi gets a 5 to 10% boost from 4.0. Then go to fucking Tech Power Up and check for yourself. Read a graph. I'm right. R sharp 554. I love how people say I'm full of shit and they can't even read a graph. Well, it reminds me of Hardware Canucks. Yeah, and also, by the way, think about that. If the mid-range 5700 XT gets a, and it's not in every game, to be clear, but there were games where it was above 4%, and I saw one at like 9%. If a mid-range graphics card with the same amount of bandwidth as Vega gets a 5% boost, let's say, in PCIe 4.0, what the hell do you think big RDNA with HBM is going to do? HBM, more bandwidth than my Radeon 7. That's going to get a 10% boost from 4.0 at least. Just like the 7970 did. The 7970 was the first PCIe 3.0 card, and guess what? It got a 10% boost in some games at launch because of that giant GDR5 384-bit bus. Especially when you overclock the 7970. Again, RDNA is a rebirth of the 7000 series, my favorite series from AMD, so I'm excited about that. Don't kid yourselves. If you want to get big RDNA, 4.0 will make a difference in performance. Not a giant one, and at 4K it might not be huge, but for certain games, it's going to make a huge difference, I think. Let's see. I got a tip from Tech Epiphany. Oh, I've seen you before. Thank you. Keep it up. All right, I'll keep going at least another 20 minutes then because you tipped me. Same with Lame Legend. I do like a good stupid name. By the way, this is off subject. You want to see the dumbest names ever? Play Battlefield Online. It's just like, what have I seen before? Like there was literally one room where I saw Bilbo Butt Plug followed by Vape Nation 420 followed by Bilbo Saggins. It was just nothing. Like there's something with people who game on Battlefield where they like having the dumbest name possible. All right, let's see. Samsonite Dub, even with an 18% IPC increase from Skylake on the Ice Lake, will be slower than the 8559U since it's 3.9 gigahertz max boost. Well, it's going to matter what its sustained turbo boost is. So my I have an 8565U, so it actually turbos to 4.6 gigahertz. And when it's using 2 cores, it does sustain 4.4 gigahertz pretty frequently at 15 watts, which is very impressive. But if you give it over 50% utilization, it kind of maxes out at 3 gigahertz if you were to render, which I tested it out, by the way. My new rendering laptop with my whole rendering kit works great now, by the way. Way better than my last one. So that'll be great when I'm at Hot Chips. I'm going to be at Hot Chips, by the way. And the thing with Ice Lake is we need to find out what the base clocks are going to be. I think the boost clocks will be lower than Skylake 5.0, ergo Whiskey Lake. But if they can keep the base clocks at like 2.5 gigahertz, I think the overall performance could be a 30% increase again. And we'll see. They really should be adding L4 cache as well. It's really stupid they aren't yet. At Moore's Law is dead. I hate seeking alpha, so much tech ignorance. Yeah, I know. Well, there's some smarter people on there, to be clear, and some really good investors that give free advice. But this is why people missed AMD. They just don't get that it's not all about the financials. It obviously is important, but AMD has caught lightning in a bottle with Infinity Fabric. It would be like if Intel all of a sudden was using graphene instead of silicon. That is a huge advantage, guys. You cannot just ignore what AMD has here. And until Intel proves they can make something as good, which they sure as shit haven't done that yet, AMD is a solid investment, although, of course, this is for entertainment, not investment advice. If you want investment advice, you should go to the people who crash the stock market. Thanks for another tip. I'm legend. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of like a quarter machine at this point. Oh, I've got a few tips with questions. Samsonite Dove. Ice Lake base clock is 1.3 gigahertz, not a typo. Oh, I believe you, it's not a typo. So yeah, if that's what it's at, again, it's going to matter what the average turbo clock is. I will say again, here's what's interesting. Again, I would just want to really illustrate what I mean when I talk about Ice Lake overall performance. My KB Lake quad core was 15 watts, and my NV from 2017. My NV from 2019 is Whiskey Lake quad core. They both have the same 1.8 gigahertz base clock, but when I undervolted them, for sure that Whiskey Lake one is boosting 30% higher, and I really mean that. It's the difference between staying at or slightly below the base clock most of the time and actually staying above it, and it always stays above it. So when I see 1.3 gigahertz, yeah, I don't know, guys, but it wouldn't surprise me if in light gaming or certain rendering tasks that only last a minute, Ice Lake actually stayed at the same turbo booster with an 18% IPC increase. That'll be good. And here's the thing to keep in mind as well. What is the TDP on Ice Lake? Because if it's 10 watts instead of 15, that means it won't have as many thermal issues. If it's 5 watts, if it's TDP down at 1.3 gigahertz is 5 watts, shit, you could put that thing in an 8-inch netbook that fits, that you fold up and put in your back pocket, which is something I want to get eventually, by the way, like a 10-inch screen that folds just small enough with a bezel-less display that I can put it in my back pocket. That type of a laptop, that's what Ice Lake's probably targeting. But I agree. Hey, look, I want to be very clear. I'm optimistic about Ice Lake because I've been surprised by how good my 8705G and Whiskey Lake i7 were, but I'm not saying it's going to be better. It might not be. It might not be better, guys. Rant about NVIDIA drivers gimping Ryzen review. This is a tip. Well, I'm not going to rant. Honestly, here's what I'm going to say about that. NVIDIA can pull this shit as long as AMD doesn't have the performance crown. And that's a problem. At least AMD is now, and this is why I really think if the 3950X is only tied with the i9 9900K, AMD needs to release a $1,000 golden sample. I'm telling you they do. They need to make like a 3960X that has a base clock of 4.5 gigahertz and beats the 9900K by 10%. I don't care. I don't care if they can only make 10 of them. You need to do this and send this to reviewers so they stop using Intel to benchmark Radeon products. The same goes for the graphics cards. I don't care if you can only make a handful of, like, let's say fully unlocked Radeon Vega 20 cards. Like, if they could have made a Vega 20 card next to the 2080 Ti, they just should have, even if it was $2,000, even if, like, because that matters, because all those benchmarking people are going to use that. And NVIDIA will pull bullshit like this, and it's within their power to do so. It is. Sorry, they can do it. And NVIDIA has been doing this. AMD needs to fix their own problems to a certain extent here. That's what I really think. Although it does annoy me that these channels don't look into that a lot. Like Adora TV looked into Crossfire and found on Ryzen systems it just works substantially better. It's probably not a mistake, guys. All right, let me keep scrolling here. Hopefully that rant was good enough for you. Oh, Lamb Legend? Sorry, did I say I read Lame Legend? Or I Am Legend. Well, the L look at it. You literally look at your name. The L and an I is the same. So yeah. Lion S7. So you said PCI 2.0 to 4.0 is 1 to 2%. Yes, but there were some games where it was higher than that. It's going to matter more and more as time goes on. That's my point about PCIe 4.0. And after all, everyone's freaking out about a 2% win with like the 2070 Super or something. Like, I think that 2% matters. And I think by the way, you can bet your ass the PS5 is going to use 4.0 or 5.0 PCIe. So if that happens, oh yeah. And that happened, by the way, when the PS4 came out. There was Rise Son of Rome on PC, got like crazy, like half the performance going to PCI 1.0 from 3.0, I believe. That's when that's going to happen. When they start programming games around the bandwidth of 4.0, that's when you're going to start seeing some games have massive performance hits. I'm just saying, plan for the future, guys. If you're planning on getting high-end cards and a high-end processor, 4.0 makes sense to pay for, but you don't need to spend all your money because you can get it on X470 boards now. Now, if you're getting mid-range cards and you're only going to be at 60 frames a second, 3.0 is good enough. It really is a situation of both worlds, but I really think people are underestimating how big of a deal 4.0 will be a year from now. Not saying it makes a world of difference now. I kind of said that, I guess so. I guess I'm making a correction to what I said. Oh, thank you. Shahan Salim for your tip. Yeah, you guys are the ones who make this possible. So the fact that my channel grew so quickly is why I put so much effort into this. That's why I already have a podcast, a website, another podcast. And I swear I'm going to try to get some articles up in a GPU hierarchy chart to make Tom's Hardware look stupid, because I think Tom's Hardware's GPU hierarchy chart has been jack shit for 5 years. So don't worry. I'm going to make that website useful. I'm going to try to bring in other writers to add stuff to it. It's just not a priority. It is YouTube channel, podcast, political podcast, my website. But I do hopefully plan to quit my job within a year. And once that happens, imagine what I can do when I have 3 times the free time I have now. You already get like 5 videos a week, 3-4 videos a week. Imagine what I can do if I triple my free time and really focus on stuff. So it's tips like this. It's you guys supporting me that's making me go full throttle here, because I'm growing quick enough and the support's big enough that, yeah. Yeah, I know. See, Tom, I agree, Killajolt. Tom's Hardware is turning into a joke. And I used to love Tom's Hardware. But man, it's just like so many of these tech channels. They're just being replaced by tech tubers because they're better. Gamers Nexus is better. Hardware Unboxed is better. Cortex and Adored do better analysis. Like, that's why. Yeah, new media is killing old media. That I would agree. Yeah, I know that free time is going to make a lot of difference. It'll allow me to not make mistakes as often. Like, it'll allow me to make a video instead of rushing it out and then heading to a meeting. I'll make a video and then have some free time to actually relax and then come back and watch my video and make sure there's no errors. That's not something I can really do. I kind of got to streamline what I'm doing. I basically take notes constantly on the go while I'm working. If I think of an idea, I'll just write it down. And then when I finally get a chance, I'll just make 5 videos on a Sunday, right? And that's how that works. And it would be nice if I didn't have to rush them out when I'm free. That's what I'll say. Also, be nice if I could play video games again. I used to love playing video games. I just don't have the time to do anything. I don't have time to date anymore, play video games, but I'm just willing to put in the effort to keep my job going and this channel for now. And man, my backlog. I got Sekiro, which I beat the first boss with the horse Shogun. That was an awesome boss. And I love Souls games. Haven't beaten Sekiro yet. Usually I would have beat it in the first week. And God, I have so many games in my backlog. Last Guardian. At least I beat God of War 3. I haven't even beaten Doom yet. Ugh. Yeah, maybe I'll get more time to relax and not get so pissed at people and rant. Yeah, I know. And Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is usual, I played for about 20 hours and then stopped. Every Assassin's Creed game that I play, I end up playing a lot for like a week and then leaving. And then I'll come back in half a year. It always happens. There's just so much content in it. It's like I could play Assassin's Creed for 20 hours or I could beat God of War 3, a 10 out of 10 game. I'll just go beat that. Do you expect that we'll finally see affordable desktop OLEDs in 2020? Very good question. Filzga, Fylzka. I think 2021 is when the monitor market will stop being a bunch of TikToks. Like, seriously, it's gotten so bad with the monitor gouging that TV there that's 4 times the size of a monitor that's better than a monitor is almost the same price as these inferior monitors. It's so dumb. Yeah, at the time I play Sekiro on that, by the way. I don't play video games a lot anymore, so I'll just unplug my workstation here. It has a handle. I just put it next to the TV. And because I only play video games like once every 2 weeks, I'll just play for 7 hours Sekiro in HDR. OLED 4K. It looks great, by the way. Sekiro on PC supports HDR. It looks good. The fire looks amazing in HDR. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I know LG's bringing OLED monitors in, I think next year, if not late this year, and that's going to have ripples. But it's going to take a year for the LG price war to bring everything down. So I think 2021, yeah, you're going to have 4K 120 hertz OLED monitors for like $700, $600. That's what I would wait for. I'm going to keep using my existing panel for that reason. Buy my dog a steak. Well, $2 Canadian isn't going to buy her a steak. But I will get her a bone next time I'm at the grocery store. Thank you for the tip. Where is she? She's sleeping on the chair over there. All right, let's see what else we got going on. Thoughts on HBM3? HBM2 is already, and this is from Noah. HBM2 is already kind of fast enough, honestly. My Arcturus video goes into this. I think HBM2 is what we're going to use for another 2 years, but you'll start to see HBM3 in 2021. And again, it's going to double bandwidth again. What I think you need to look for right now is faster clocked HBM, because again, they have 1200 megahertz HBM that's not in products yet, but it's there on Samsung's website. They're making it. That's 20% more right there. And also, there's no reason to stop at 4096-bit, 6144-bit. That's what I think's coming, and that's going to be sick. You guys will like my Whispers of Arcturus video, by the way. Could a fit? Okay, this is from Philip Engel. Could a 56 CU Navi car be on par with the RTX 2080 Ti? Yeah. So again, this is, I see this in my YouTube comment section all the time, and it's hilarious for me. You'll see someone go, I don't know why people are impressed with Navi. It's like the same performance per watt. It's actually worse than the 2070 Super, and it can't even beat the 2080. Why does anyone care? Here's why people care. It's 40 compute units. I think the 5800 XT is going to be 384-bit and have 60 compute units. That's 50% more. Even if it was just 40% stronger, right? Non-perfect scaling. Let's say it was 30% stronger. That would put it above the 2080 Super. Boom. They just beat the 2080 Super with a 350 millimeter squared card that's 384-bit. And by the way, I'll have 12 gigabytes of RAM, not fucking 11. This ridiculous shit from NVIDIA with the 11 gigabytes. They'll have 12 gigabytes, and it'll probably be within 10% of the 2080 Ti. That's 60. So it could be on par, roughly speaking, right there. And who knows how well the drivers will have matured by the end of this year. So yeah, they really could with 60. 56, 60, same difference, I think. I think they'll do 60 and then cut it down to 52 compute units. And then I think we'll have a 72 to 88 compute unit mega card. But I do think AMD will charge $1,000 for it. I've got a video coming out about that. You'll like that. It explains the Navi naming scheme next week. And it kind of hypothesizes what the lineup will look like. Again, I think NVIDIA's got to be worried because I think AMD is going to have an Titan RTX killer out by midway through next year. And then NVIDIA is just going to have to sit on its ass for a few months while AMD has the performance crown. Yeah, I think that'll be fun to watch, though. Hopefully they both have good products, though. I want to be clear. I hope they both have good products. The ninth dude, who is a NetBurst supporter, by the way, thank you for having the same name across your accounts. I do get a little annoyed when I have to keep track of 3 names per person. You tip me. What are your hardware pet peeves? Dude, I've got so many. I've got one that me and Dan, my brother from Broken Silicon, talked about, which is 720p CPU benchmarks. We're going to make that a main subject in the next Broken Silicon. Well, not the next one, probably the one after that one or the one after that one, because I've got 2 interview episodes coming up. We're going to talk about 720p benchmarking and how it's not following this the scientific method. I just hate that shit. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you benchmark a game in 720p for a CPU? No one games in 720p. People game at 1080p low or 1080p medium if they're professional gamers. So you should benchmark there. And now what they would say is we're trying to remove the bottleneck, so we benchmark at 720p. Okay, so why not 480p? Well, 480p is too low. Oh, 480p is too low, but 720p fucking isn't? It's arbitrary. It's so random. And I saw benchmarks in the past where 720p CPU benchmarks actually ran into a RAM bottleneck, not a CPU or GPU. It turned out it was either a RAM or a PCIe 2.0 bottleneck. You don't know. You're guessing. You're guessing that the 720p removes the GPU bottleneck, but in fact, it might be a RAM bottleneck now. And unless you're willing to test every other CPU, every other RAM type, every other graphics card on PCIe 2.0, 3.0, DDR3, and DDR4, you should not be at 720p. Benchmark settings people use. If you're not benchmarking real settings, you're not benchmarking. You're wasting our time. And I hate that. So there's you just paid for a little rant. I know 720p is this 2009. Well, I mean, 720p is 2019 if you have an Xbox One. I love how they called it Xbox 720, and then you got to troll them Xbox 720p. Don't hate me, Xbox fanboys. Come on. Xbox One X doesn't suck. But the original Xbox One was terrible. Come on. All right, let's see. How strong is that beer? It's 9%. I like really light beers, like Mississippi Blonde was really good, and it's like 4%, 3.5%. That's something that's almost just like drinking a soda. It's good. And then I like heavy beers. I like 8 to 10% beers. I only need to drink one over an hour. That's what I like. No, I don't say 9% is a light beer, Max Sampla. I'm saying I like heavy beers or really light beers. Thank you for the chip, Jerry Watson. Do people know what a 2% difference in FPS is? Fucking no. Apparently not. That's something I talked to Steve Walton at Hardware Unboxed for a long time last night about. Is it's just like, why are people freaking out? The 9900K wins by 5%. 5% in 1080p gaming to a 12 core that costs the same and uses less energy. And they're like, that's worth getting it for gaming. Even if you don't use it for anything but gaming, you want those 4 extra cores for background tasks long term. It's just so stupid. Just so you know, Steve also believes no one should be buying Intel anymore for anything. So you guys know that. Sure, he'll have a lot to say in his video coming out soon about the 3900X. Again, that kept me up all night last night, me and him talking. All right, let me see here. Max Sampla. No, I'm not mad at you, Max Sampla. Guys, I'm never mad. I swear at people, but I'm not really mad. I come from a family of like arguing lawyer humans. Like, you gotta understand. I'm just used to yelling and arguing. A lot of my friends when I was younger thought our family was crazy because like my mom would yell at me and then I'd yell at her and then we'd get into an argument and then we'd be like, okay, time for dinner. And then my friends would be like, is everything okay? Yeah, what's wrong? Just how I talk. Thank you again, fair ladies. All right, if you're going to tip me again, I need to get another beer. I'll be back in 10 seconds, guys. I'll look for any more tipped questions there, but if I'm going to go another 20 minutes, I want another beer. And that was very quick, wasn't it? That's why you like a studio apartment organization to a house. Open concept, so much quicker to walk around in. And I'll plug this beer because I think it's one of the best beers I've ever had. This is a Scrimshaw, North Coast Scrimshaw. It's really, really good if you like ale beers and stuff like that. Like, seriously, this is one of my favorites. For some reason, they sell it in the Midwest, even though it's from California. All right, let's keep going. Lawyer humans. Yeah, they're not really lawyers, but they freaking act like it, I tell you. I mean, just so you know, my mom's like got a PhD and her research study was like in human decision making and like how humans make decisions based on emotions. And yeah, so you can see where I come from, don't you guys? My entire channel is like that, isn't it? Kind of like my mom thinks. Yeah. Huh. All right, let's see. Good questions here. Kyle Douglas. The only reason I have an Xbox One is because my friends got them. Yeah, that never made sense to me. And I'm not like shitting on anyone, but I like, and look, I'm drinking, so you guys are just going to get more and more like who I am stuff now. When I was in high school, I just got a PS3 because the Xboxes were breaking. And frankly, because I like Resistance, I like Metal Gear Solid. So it just made sense to me to get that. And it never made sense to me seeing my friends go, well, we have a 360. And it's like, yeah, you'll get a PS3 if this is better, though. And they did. They all eventually upgraded from 360s to PS3s, usually after they broke 5 times. You know, you got to be the change you want to see happen. Like, if all your, well, I guess this doesn't apply, though, because you play on, hey, at least gameplay is going on now, right? Pretty soon, I think they're going to update it so PlayStation players can play against Xbox players. I think in the next Call of Duty. I think that's the rumor. The next Call of Duty will let Xbox players play against PlayStation. That'll be fun. That'll be really fun. And then you don't need to worry about that. It's a huge problem, though. Like, if you have friends on the Division, as they say in Sacred Symbols, or friends in I don't know, Borderlands, and they play on PC. Doesn't that suck if you have a PlayStation, you can't play with your friends on PC? That is something that should go away. There should be cross-platform play. I mean, come on. It's so dumb. Ryan Ritter asks, do you think there will be a Navi announcement tomorrow? Why would that happen? Is there something I'm missing here in the news? It looks like the dual fan and AIB models are coming out sooner rather than later, which is good. I don't know if you guys remember, the 290X took forever to get AIB cards. It was horrible. Let me check Chip Hell. Chip Hell is a good website to go to if you want to check things coming out. Huh? No, I don't see anything about that. So I don't know where you're coming from. Let me say that. But I think Navi AIB cards are going to come out within by the end of what we got? Yeah, by August. And I think we'll get so let's put it this way. If 384-bit 60 compute unit Navi is coming out this year, and I think it just might be a paper launch, like the 7970 paper launched in December of 2011. I think that's going to be announced around October. I think that makes sense. Wait for NVIDIA's full lineup to be out, assess what your sales are, and then announce Big Navi. That's what I think. If it's coming, though, I'm assuming it's coming this year. But Cortex agrees with me. We agree on a lot of things. Like, I really think Big Navi is coming this year, guys. I just don't know why it wouldn't. Think about it. They already are making 7-nanometer Radeon 7 Vega cards on 331 millimeter squared. So how much bigger is that? 30% bigger? Okay, 30% bigger than 40 compute units for RDNA. 275, 300, 325. So a 30% increase to an RDNA Navi 10 card is still a little smaller or about the same size, about exactly the same size as Vega 20. So what does that mean? 40, 44, 48, 52. They've been making 7 nanometer Vega since 2018. It's almost 2020. Guys, I really think they could make a 60 compute unit RDNA card by the end of the year. Like, I don't see why they can't if they've been making Vega this long. So that's where that comes from. And why wouldn't they? God, they can beat NVIDIA. Do it, AMD. Let's see what else there was. What do I think AMD's planning for Zen 4? Nope. Gonna have to watch the podcast. Subscribe to Broken Silicon. Again, I think it could be as big as Zen 3, but it's going to be a lot of hypotheses. It's not going to be confirmed info unless me and Cortex receive some info in the next week. Vior, you're a long time follower too. Have you seen the insane Navi encoding engine results? I don't know why you made that one word. I have not. I'm just Googling it now. No, I haven't. Vior. Thank you for the tip, though. Feel free to say something and call my name out if you want to fill it in, and I'll see if I can answer you further since you tipped me. Kyle Douglas, my friends are all hard-headed, though. I don't know. Mine eventually came around to whatever I was doing, right? Like it took me forever to convince one of my friends. You'll like this story, guys. You'll love this story. One of my friends, we were building in 2016. I built in the beginning of Q3 2016, but my 6700K was on sale. I got that. Eventually, I got a Fury Nitro for $300. Excellent deal. I love this, you know. You can hear me tapping on it there. I love my rig. But he waited a month, and I found Broadwell E Xeon engineering samples from China on sale on eBay for $240. What does that mean? For $240, my friend got a 10-core Broadwell E. Guys, for $240 in 2016, he got a 10-core Intel CPU. I would have done that if that was on sale, but it wasn't. And I almost got Broadwell E 6 cores at the time. But because my Skylake was cheaper and because I had an ITX build, I was like, I'm going to save energy. If that would have been out there, I would have gotten the 10 core. Now it only boosts to 3 gigahertz, but who cares? 10 cores, 3 gigahertz for $240 is cheaper than an i5. That's the type of deals you got to look out for. And that's the type of deals I'm going to look out for. Rest assured, when I start taking upgrading seriously in a few months, I will look. I'll get an 18-core Skylake X if I can get it for $500. I would. But that's how cheap it would have to be, by the way. And I had to convince him because he thought the Xeons were bad at gaming. And it's like, literally, it's the same IPC. I mean, yeah. Ugh. I like this question. Carbon Cry. Are you considering trying to get info on what VIA is doing? Yes. I have a folder about VIA. I'm going to do at least a couple of VIA videos because there's something about VIA I like. It's just not a priority. RDNA, Zen information, Comet Lake, that's the priority, followed by reviewing Navi, Zen 2 stuff. That is the priority, but I do have plans for VIA videos because I think they're an overlooked times 86 manufacturer. Reese wants me to pet her. Keep going down. I saw I got a tip. Up. There she is. What? All right, get the hell out of here. Now she's going to lay by the door because she wants me to take her on a walk. So Scotty says, what do you think is in store for the 5800, 5900 XT? Being as the 5700 XT is nearly matching a stock RTX 2080. And I think that's the big takeaway too. I know the 2070 Super is slightly stronger than the 5700 XT right now. It won't be in the future, in my opinion. But it's so close to that 2080. It's so close. Like, again, I have a video coming out. It's going to be one of my shorter ones, like a 5-minute video. But I have a 5-minute video that I recorded a few days ago that goes over what I think the lineup's going to be. So stay tuned for that. But since you tipped me, I'll tell you. I think the 5800 XT is seriously going to. I think it will be 12 gigabytes GDR6. I think that it will go to between 52 and 60 compute units. And so I think it's going to be 30 to 40% stronger. So 30 to 40% stronger than almost a 2080. I think it's going to be right below the 2080 Ti. And I think it'll be a 12 gigabyte though. So people will say, honestly, if the 2080 Ti is 10% stronger, but has one less gigabyte, would you not choose AMD? And I think they'll charge around $550 and $650 for it. I don't think they'll go up to $700. It doesn't deserve Radeon 7 prices quite, in my opinion. So I think that's what they'll do. And then I think they're going to have an HBM enabled card. So I think that's going to be like a 290, 300 watt 5800 XT. But because they'll use HBM on the 5900 XT, which by the way, there is a 5800 and a 5900 XT. There's both. We already know it's leaked. We don't know what they are, but we know they both exist. So if they're going to have a tier higher than the 5800 XT, I think they will make the 5900 XT use 16 gigabytes of HBM to save energy. And because they do that, it will still be 300 watts. You have like a 300 watt 5800 XT 12 gigabyte, a 300 watt 5900 XT 16 gigabyte. And I think if the 5800 XT can come close to the 2080 Ti, the 5900 XT should bury it by 10-20%. And the bad news is I think they'll charge $1,000 for the 5900 XT, but then like $750 for the 5900. And I know it's not great, but you know what? If it beats the Titan RTX, they should charge $1,000 because fuck them. Like this is what people are dealing with now. That's what I think. All right, hope that answered your question. A big video coming out about that. That's like 5 minutes long next week while I'm on a business trip. So you'll like that. It'll probably come out after my Arcturus video because there's no timing constraints. I want to get Arcturus out sooner rather than later, but I see no reason to rush that info. Scoops Pro says I can get a 7-980 XE for less than $1,250. Not worth it to me. To get an 18-core i9, it would have to be as cheap as it'd have to be cheaper than the 16-core Threadripper. For me, it would be. And here's what I would actually do with it. With Intel, you can overclock per core. So what I would do is find the least efficient cores through process of elimination and testing, and then I would disable 2 of them. And if I disable 2 of the least efficient cores, what does that get you? I'll give it to you a 16-core i9 that's been now top binned. And what you could do is take that and probably get it to 4.5 gigahertz. 4.5 gigahertz, 16-core, turn off hyperthreading, which at least with Intel does help since it's a monolithic die, doesn't have the issues. That's what I would do. But again, $700 or less for me to even consider that. It doesn't have PCIe 4.0, guys. So it needs to be dirt cheap for me to consider Intel anymore. It really does. And honestly, well, I guess if I disabled hyperthreading, I wouldn't care about the security issues. So yeah, that's what it would take. It'd have to be very cheap. Juan Me, I like that name. Juan Me 555 says a stock 2080 is still 20% faster than the 5700 XT. That's not a lot, guys. That's not a lot when the 5700 XT is still running on Vega code. Here's what it comes down to. Does the 5700 XT beat the 2080 in some games already? Yes. Go play Battlefield 5. That's what I play the most because I don't have time to play single player games. I just get on Battlefield with my brother for 30 minutes every night. Guess what? 5700 XT is stronger than the 2080 right now, guys, in that game. What does that mean in the future? You can't say the 2080 is crazy stronger. They're in the same ballpark. If there's some games where a card wins more than one game, like a handful, then they're pretty close. 20% isn't a lot. Adding 50% more bandwidth, adding 30-40% more compute units should make the 5800 XT bury the 2080 and come close to the 2080 Ti. Should bury the 2080 Super. They wouldn't be releasing the Super unless they knew AMD was getting ready to launch some howitzers at them. But yeah, so still 20% faster. I don't think that's a lot when it costs twice as much, dude. Kang Nugent asks, so AMD have a gap at 500? Well, they have the $400 5700 XT. I guess they have the $450 premium edition, but let's not count that. I think you add 384-bit, you have like a $550 card. Or no, wait, what did I say? I think I came to the conclusion of 529 maybe. That's not a huge gap. I don't know. And I think the 5700 is going to sneak towards $320 street price. You have like 320 street price, 500 street price, and then you have a card that's close to a 2080 Ti for 550. That's justified. Then you have the fully unlocked version for 650. Why not? Yeah. It might be cheaper though. Maybe they'll do 479 or 450, but I don't think so unless they have to drop prices. Oh my God. Samsonite dub. I missed a tip by Indra Jew above. Let me scroll up. Sorry. Sorry. Thank you for telling me. You didn't have to. I hope you didn't have to tip me to tell me. Will HBM kill the RAM slot soon? No, I think there's always going to be RAM slots. The future of APUs and CPUs, like builds, is this actually, in my opinion. I don't think you kill the RAM slot. I just think you remove RAM on other devices. What do I mean? So, wouldn't it be nice if you could just buy an SoC and it had a CPU and a GPU that were perfectly matched in performance? Example, what if there was an APU right now, like we can't do it quite yet, but let's say there was, that was, instead of buying a $200 3600 and also a $400 5700 XT, they had for $400, right? So you're saving $200, a 3600 plus 5700 XT, and then they said we recommend RAM at this speed. That means there's no RAM on anything. You just buy an SoC like an APU now, and then they'll have HBM RAM sticks that you have to buy if you want to maximize its performance. But let's say you only want compute. Maybe you buy DDR5 instead, right? Maybe you don't need HBM RAM sticks. You buy DDR5 RAM sticks. That's what I think the future of builds are is. And in fact, I think I'll take it a step further. Eventually, I think HBM4 and all of that will become so cheap that it will work as a RAM drive as well, right? Like think of 3D X-Point. I think eventually what will happen is your RAM sticks will act as memory like a hard drive. So you'll buy 1 terabyte RAM sticks, and if they're faster, you have faster storage and faster bandwidth for your graphics card. That's what I think the singularity of PC building is. You choose an SoC, a motherboard, and what RAM sticks you want. And it's up to you what performance you need. That's what I think's coming. I think that would be the ultimate setup. But there will always be some cards with RAM on it and vice versa. Yeah, thanks for doing that, Samsonite. I am trying to scroll through, and I guess it just went past it. Let's see. Well, I think I already answered your question. No one cares. But I got a 3700 XT. Should I have gotten a 3900 XT and disabled SMT? According to Hardware Unboxed, no. And I trust Hardware Unboxed. I don't think we're sure exactly how this is going to turn out yet, but I don't think you want to disable SMT on dual CCX chips just yet. However, there will be some games where you get a 10% performance boost as demonstrated, but not all of them. And 10% isn't really a lot. I think actually, in a lot of games, you might want to disable hyperthreading on your 3700 XT since it doesn't have the latency penalty because it only has one CCX and one IO die. You just use that. Disable hyperthreading and then see if you can get to 4.5 gigahertz. I saw a lot of people say they could get 200 megahertz higher by disabling hyperthreading. If you only game, I don't think you need to turn on hyperthreading yet, which is something I did with my Haswell i7 like 5 years ago. I noticed no games got any benefit from hyperthreading, so I just turned off hyperthreading and clocked it to 4.6 gigahertz. Then when Battlefield 4 came out, turn on hyperthreading, clock down to 4.4. It's something you could consider doing, guys. Don't get your question about not an Apple fan. Oh, here's a good question. Waname 555 batting 100. Why are you so dismissive of ray tracing? AMD is really invested into it. I'm dismissive of ray tracing until it proves me otherwise, right? I think ray tracing is the future. Let me be very clear. You should go back and watch some of my old videos with only like 1,000 views. I think ray tracing is the future, but I think in current architectures, it uses too much performance to make any sense, guys. It doesn't make any sense. So I think until we have 20 cores at least, shouldn't we just not bother? Like, we don't even have photorealism without we're not even quite to photorealism like graphics yet. Why waste the resources on ray tracing? It just doesn't make sense to me. So I think ASICs for ray tracing are what the future is. And honestly, the PS5 is rumored to have an ASIC, and the Xbox 2 is rumored to either have an ASIC or have Zen 3 threading so that they can run it on the CPU. And that's the future. That's why I dismiss it, because it's stupid. The way RTX works on NVIDIA is dumb, short-sighted, and is not even beta testing. It's like alpha testing. You're buying into something that you're going to lose money on, that you're not going to be able to use in a year. I don't know if AMD's will work well, but I know it will work better. But I'm somewhat dismissive of AMD's ray tracing as well until you prove me otherwise. Until I can game 4K 120 hertz in ray tracing and it actually looks better. Because that's another thing there was a good video that showed that in Metro, ray tracing didn't really make Metro Exodus look better. It made it look different. Like, they looked at the trees and the shading looked better in one area, but then the shading looked unrealistic in another. Like, so really all you're doing is going from one version of unrealistic lighting to another version of unrealistic lighting. I don't like hybrid. Hybrid's stupid. I don't want hybrid ray tracing. I want fully ray traced so there's no errors. And we're just not there yet. But I'll be happy to be proved wrong. That much data and RAM would be very scary in a power outage. No, so speak out and remove all doubt. I think it would be what is the word? Non-something RAM. RAM that doesn't lose energy, doesn't lose its data when you turn off the power. That's what I think. Like, again, like 3DX point. I like that some of you are saying I'm wrong to say 3D crosspoint. It's the same thing, guys. Come on. Tomato, tomato. Stop getting mad at me. I'm going to say it wrong. Watch this. NVIDIA. Get over it. I'm saying it wrong. I don't care. Non-volatile is the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Well, John 316 saves. I'm not entirely sure about that, actually. At least what I'm seeing, there is some evidence from Gamers Nexus and talking to Hardware Unboxed that having one CCX has less of a latency penalty in some games. Again, this is the problem with turning off SMT this early into Zen 2's life. Some games do get a benefit, even with the 3900X, from disabling hyperthreading, but it seems like some do not. And in fact, some got a horrible performance hit. So it seems like it depends. I wouldn't be so sure. To be clear, though, I'm not 100% sure what's going on. It might just be drivers or a game engine thing. It really might be. Speak out and remove all doubt asks a great question. What level do you think Intel will come into the GPU market? When will be 1410? I assume it's going to be 14 nanometer. They've got all of those foundries pumping out crap. Right. But I think what's going to happen is they'll have lower end 10 nanometer cards that are super efficient. I think the best case scenario for Intel is you have these hyper efficient lower mid range cards. So your $200 cards that use like 75 watts somehow. And they're not the best performing, but they're good price performance. They're in line with everyone else, but they use half the energy. But then I think their higher end ones will be on 14 nanometer plus. And those cards will just clock super high, have giant die sizes. But the performance will be there. I think they'll get to the lower high end if they want to. All right, let's see. Getting a little tired here. Probably only got another 5 to 10 minutes in me. So get any important questions in now. Gaming and performance asks, I'm not sure if this has been discussed yet, but it's rumored the 2080S will be a disappointment. I don't know. All of Turing is a disappointment, isn't it? I saw that from not an Apple fan, and it's like, well, I don't know. I think 10% increase in RAM speed is enough to make it catch up halfway to the 2080 Ti in 4K gaming. So, but it only has 8 gigabytes of RAM, so it was never going to be great. Look, I'm going to be clear about that. I hate the 2070 and the 2080 for a reason. In my Radeon 7 review, I compared the Radeon 7 to the 1080 Ti and the 2080 Ti. And then I ignored the 2080. Why? Because no one should be paying more than $500 for an 8 gigabyte card in 2019. We had 8 gigabyte cards at that level in 2016. That's 3 fucking years ago. 8 gigabytes is not enough for 4K at all. Jim at Adore TV even found when he turned on high bandwidth cache that Vega 64 was beating the 2080 in Tomb Raider, an older game. Guys, 8 gigabytes is idiotic in a $500 card. It just doesn't make any sense. So I think the 2080 is dumb no matter what it is, unless it gets over 8 gigabytes of RAM, which it won't. Disappointment? I don't know. I think it will firmly be in between the 2070 Super and the 2080 Ti, which is where it always should have been. It's up to you if that's disappointing. I think it should be $500 though, not $700. Which, if you think about it, right, because someone else said 2080 Super will be at least 20% stronger than the 5700 XT. Yeah, then it should be 20% more expensive. It should be $500 fucking dollars, not $700. God, $800. $800 for a 2080 when it launched. It only has 8 gigabytes of RAM. What a joke. I always hated that card, but everyone else did too. Why wouldn't NVIDIA, this is Jordan McCallum, implement a basic RTX via a post-processing effect like how Reshade does with the path tracing, but making use of RT cores? I mean, they might. I don't know. I really think Jensen Huang himself has said that the RTX 2000 series is literally just a beta test that people are paying a lot for early. So I don't know. I really think they've got another gen of using this current method they're already using, except maybe they'll double the RT cores and keep the same amount of tensor cores, because it seems like in a lot of these ray tracing games, they don't even use the tensor cores for denoising, which is ridiculous that it's there. And but I think 2021, there's a chance they may drop them, but not till then. They've got to at least stick with it for another year or they'll look stupid. Whoa. Stolen. Okay. A lot of interesting, weird questions here. Oh my God. There's a different. Oh my God. There's this guy named. I'm going to show all of his stuff. Here we go, guys. You ready for this troll? Scroll up in the chat. Bad film music. He's just trying to call me a faggot over and over, but he can't find a way to do it without getting bleeped by YouTube. So I'll just show it. Look at this idiot. It's okay. I had a girlfriend who called me a curly-headed fuck for fun from Step Brothers. I am a curly-headed fuck, so. All right. I'm starting to get a little loopy. This beer's almost done. Any last questions, guys? No. WanMe555 says, if a 2080 Ti beats the Titan Volta, do you think the next top NVIDIA card will beat Titan RTX for less than $1,000? If it's on Samsung 7nm EUV, it certainly should. I mean, Samsung 7nm EUV goes up to 858 millimeter square. I don't know what they'll charge for it, but I think Titan Ampere comes out first with like a shit ton of HBM, maybe 6144-bit. For like $4,000, of course, and someone will buy it for gaming. And that will be Definitely way stronger than RTX. Maybe probably slightly stronger than whatever RDNA 2.0 has. And then they'll bring out a full lineup. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know, right? We don't know enough about Ampere yet. But it's certainly not crazy to think that'll happen. But it's also not crazy to think AMD is about to bring out a $700 card that beats Titan RTX either. I think both AMD and NVIDIA will do that. Troll McTrollington says, I kind of want to see what Intel has up its sleeves. Well, they have nothing almost. I think Comet Lake might be a worthy mid-range competitor. Remember, the mid-range is now 12 cores, so Intel's done. They're not competing with AMD's 16 core. But I could see a 5.2 gigahertz golden sample for $500 that isn't often in stock, but when it is in stock, has like a decent base clock, 125 watt TDP. Yeah, I mean, I could see that being a good gaming chip, but it's done, right? They're not competing with their 16 core. AMD is ready to do a refresh, right? Think about it. Think about the naming scheme. AMD can release a 3620X, a 3720X, a 3820X, and a 3920X. Yeah, 3920X and a 3960X. These would all be 200 megahertz faster. That 5 gigahertz 16 core, I believe, is ready when they want to release it, especially as yields improve. They're just not releasing it yet because they don't need to. Best yields going to Epic. When Intel brings out their 5.2 gigahertz Comet Lake, AMD will probably bring out a 5 gigahertz 16 core. But it will be cool when it comes out. That depends, though. If Comet Lake can come out this year, if it really isn't going to come out till midway 2020, what does it matter? AMD will be burying Intel by then. I did play Left 4 Dead 2. It was fun. I didn't play the first one, but all of the maps from the first one are in the second one. All right, I should set a timer. 5 minutes. I keep saying I'm almost over, but what's going on here? A friend just sent me a really weird picture. What the hell? That was weird. All right, 5 minutes. Timer started. Still having some fun here, getting loopy. Me and Cortex are probably going to be loopy too. We're going to be doing a late night recording. What phone is that? An Xperia XZ3. I think this is the Singapore version. Get it on Amazon without a contract. It's like half the price. I have a tendency to get Xperia phones. Not all of them. Some of them suck. But I have a tendency to get higher end Xperia phones because of their high megapixel rate, their waterproofing, and they allow, like, this is a 300 gigabyte phone with 6 gigabytes of RAM, right? And good battery life. That's why. Oh, Sony fanboy? Not a Sony fanboy, guys. Got an LG TV. I got just every now and then they make some good stuff. I mean, what's my opinion on Radeon image sharpening? It's the right direction to go. I'd rather pay a 5% performance hit to sharpen the image than gain performance, a ton more performance, and make my image look like shit like DLSS. Like, no. I think image sharpening, what AMD is doing is the right path. Nope, got a tip. Means I will keep talking a little longer. Which I'll pause the timer every time I get a tip. So I got like 3 minutes left, though. But I will answer you. When do you think games will be totally indistinguishable from reality? Excellent question. I think there will be PS5 games that are basically photorealistic. And I mean basically. It's hard to say. But I think the PS5 is going to be a brown 2080 Ti performance. I think more accurately, we would say RX 5800 performance, 5800 XT maybe, with better load times. I think that's what the PS5 will be. I think that, like, so let's say, what does Quantic Dreams make yet? Have you played Detroit Become Human? I mean, that sucker already looks almost photorealistic on a PS4 Pro. So the new console should be 4 times stronger than the PS4 Pro, roughly. If that's true, yeah, I think you're going to get Quantic Dream games that are photorealistic. Very close to it. And we'll get action games. We'll get maybe a Killzone corridor shooter that's almost photorealistic. I think next gen is going to be right at the uncanny valley, and that's what's going to be hard. But the good news is if the developers are smart, they'll either go for full photorealism and avoid the uncanny valley, or they'll scale it back to better than current gen, but not quite uncanny valley, but have giant open worlds that load fast and have excellent performance. That's what I think next gen will be. I think it'll be very close to photorealism. PS6, if there is a PS6, who knows if there'll be more consoles after that. That's when I think we'll be in photorealism. I think, let's think about it, right? I think Arcturus is going to be 50 teraflops FP16, but that's a compute card. I think our big RDNA will be like 20 teraflops FP32. So I think whatever comes after RDNA 2.0, like a 5 nanometer one, yeah, I think that's when you're going to just about get to photorealism. So I guess I'm saying like the 7900 XT is when I think we'll be close to photorealism. But I'm spitballing, but I hope that answers your question. All right, timer starts again. Thomas Gillis. I have a feeling he can't see my comments. Again, I can't promise I'll see your comments unless you tip, besides the one guy I missed it, and I apologize. I do see I just got a giant tip, though, so I'm definitely going to pause the timer now. Thank you, Tanji, for the tip. Make me keep going. I run a 7900X. Yeah, right. So just to remind myself, I am drinking. I need a reminder. I think that's Intel 7900X, intelarc.com. 10 cores, 20 threads. Very nice. 4.3 gigahertz boost clock. Yeah. Decent CPU, dude. Considering going back to AMD, but want more lanes. Well, that's when you go back to AMD. Their PCI lane advantage is ridiculous. Do you think I will have to go to Threadripper? So here's what I think. Ryzen 3000, Zen 2 on AM4 has 16, or I think it actually has 24. Make sure of that. Ryzen 3000 PCIe lanes number. It's 24 4.0 lanes, guys. Right. 24. There's 24 PCIe 4.0 lanes. Think about that. It's double the bandwidth of 3.0. That means it's the equivalent of 48 3.0 lanes. That's better than Intel's HEDT, guys. That's why I say, why is it called the 3950X, like replacing the 2950X, which used to be Threadripper? Because it has 4.0. On X570, this is better than Intel's HEDT lineup. Even the chipset is. That's what I think. However, 48 PCIe lanes of 3.0 equivalent, it's not that much better. 48 versus 44 on Intel, right? So it's not a huge upgrade. It's up to you, though, what you're going to do. 16 lanes are reserved for a graphics card or 2 graphics cards, but it would be the equivalent of cross-firing 2 times 16 3.0 graphics cards. And then you'd also have effectively 16 3.0 equivalent left over for drives and all that other stuff. And you don't need to spend as much on RAM because it has dual channel. You don't need a bunch of DIMM slots. Of course, you probably already bought the DDR4, so that probably doesn't help you, does it? I don't know. I mean, I think the answer is X570. 3950X is 100% better than your CPU, better than your platform without a doubt, because it can have drives that run at 4.0, double the bandwidth. Try it out. And by the way, when I say try it out, I'm constantly making a Your Mom's House YouTube channel reference. That type of stuff, it is better. However, if you want a giant upgrade, I don't know what you paid for that 7900X, but Threadripper, it would be a giant upgrade, dude. It sounds like they're bringing 64 cores. That'll probably be $3,000. Think about it. $3,000 for the 64 core. And then it'll probably be like 2,500 for the 48 core. Probably be 1,800 for the 32 core. Probably be 1,500 for the 24 core or something around there. Are you willing to spend $1,500 for a 24 core? You know, you might be. and that can use your quad channel memory, and it will probably have 64 lanes of PCIe 4.0. So that's one hell of an IO upgrade, isn't it? Up to you. Threadripper, the next gen Threadripper should destroy your setup, and AM4 X570 is a little better. That's the answer. It's up to you if it's worth upgrading, though. I think your CPU is good, though. Are you actually running into bottlenecks with your storage and your tasks? I am. I'm crossfire. I'm doing SATA SSD RAID. I'm running into bottlenecks when I render. I'm going to get PCIe 4.0 almost definitely because of that. But you might not need to. You might already be good with a sick PCIe drive that I don't have. Up to you. But I think I gave you a lot of food for thought. See another giant tip here. Oh, Scoops Pro just says thank you for your hard work. I mean, guys, I do it because I love it, right? So, and because the support I'm getting makes me keep going. Another one here. You want me to chug another beer for $2? All right, I'll get one more beer since you paid me to. I'm not doing it again, though. I can't just get hammered, guys. I'll get a light beer, though. I'll be right back. Since I still have around 600 viewers, I'll be back in 30 seconds. All right, I got a Leon Cooler. Oh, God. I don't know. I'm just going to call it Luckner's Summer Shandy. These are crazy popular right now. It's funny. They used to only make these beers during the summer, and then they realized everyone's buying this. Why don't we just make it year-round? All right, let's just get through the last little bit then. No more, though, tips for beer, though. But you guys, I still have, and the subscriber thing is going down, so I know you guys are getting tired of me talking. So I'm starting the timer, though. All right, final questions. Again, Octo channel memory will kill Threadripper. Well, but it comes at a cost. Already you have quad channel memory Threadripper 2000 beating HEDT from Intel overall. I know the Octo channel Xeons from Intel are still better than the quad channel Threadrippers right now in some tasks, but it's already kind of trading blows. I wouldn't be so sure that this Octo channel thing is going to be that much better than Threadripper. But if it is that much better than Threadripper, keep this in mind. Who cares? Threadripper is cheaper than Intel's HEDT lineup. And I've had so many people, it was in a podcast with the good old gamer where we were talking. And someone's like, shouldn't they bring 8-channel memory to Threadripper? And I say, fuck no. Buy Epic, dude. Come on. Buy Epic. Why would you waste your time? Like, if you're AMD, why would you waste your time bringing 8-channel to Threadripper? You can buy Epics on Newegg. Go buy that. If you need 8-channel memory, quad channel Threadripper is doing a good enough job raffle stomping Intel. I'll say this too. Carbon Cry asks, any thoughts of future accelerators like AI chiplets, physics chiplets, RT chiplets? So I have a pretty good NVIDIA video I did, which was talking about how can NVIDIA beat AMD and their future with Infinity Fabric. Well, I'll tell you how. Stacked ASICs. That is what I think NVIDIA's only path forward is to beat AMD. What they would do is understand that they can make giant die sizes and stack them together. So they'll make these huge chips where they're not as efficient at all as AMD's APUs, but maybe they're 20% stronger on average if you equalize things. But then what do they have? An ASIC for ray tracing, an ASIC next to that for tessellation, an ASIC for MSAA. I have an HDMI cable over there that when I had a PS3 hooked up, added ×2 and ×4 MSAA depending on the resolution for free. You had to plug the HDMI cord in with a USB. It was like a $60 HDMI cord. So keep in mind, it was expensive, but that's there. For 5 to 10 watts, you can have an ASIC that just adds ×4 MSAA. I'm actually kind of surprised none of them have done that yet, if you're asking me. And you add an MSAA chip, you add a ray tracing chip, and that's what I think NVIDIA will do. They'll pay for these GamesWorks packages where they use 300 watts, double the energy of AMD's 150 watt APU, but you can turn on MSAA, ray tracing, and tessellation without a performance hit. That's what their marketing will be. That's the future for NVIDIA if they want to survive, I think. So my answer, yeah, I think that's coming. The problem is AMD could add that as well. So NVIDIA would have to do it first and do it better and pay. Like, I think they would literally have to pay developers to let them program the games for them to box out AMD. But I think NVIDIA would do that. Walter Black asks, what is your... I just got another tip. God damn it. What is your opinion on Adore getting leaked info that's too good? I don't think Adore's info from last year was bad at all. It came out, what, December 2018? All the Navi and Zen 2 info. I think it was correct. And I think AMD just didn't correct them because why would they? So some of my friends call me a schmoozer. Literally, my job was to bring people to dinner and convince them of our products. Now, I do a lot of other money management and engineering stuff too, but some of my job is schmoozing. And I would hope if you're brought to dinner by AMD, you understand they have their own goals. They're not your friends. This is a company, guys. And I think the information Jim got was correct. I think there's a 5 gigahertz 16 core whenever AMD wants to make it. I think that original Navi lineup was correct, but it changed. They canceled. I've said this a million times by now. They canceled Navi 10. They called Navi 12 Navi 10, and they overclocked it, and they released the Radeon 7 as a stopgap in the high end. That's what I think happened. And they didn't correct Jim because it didn't help them to correct Jim. They didn't help them. They want Jim to hype up the info. I don't think it was too good to be true. I just think they never corrected him because it wasn't in their best interest. I'm not drunk, dude. It takes a lot more to get me drunk. I'm over 200 pounds. I know I don't look like I'm 200 pounds, but I'm really broad-shouldered and tall. Okay, so Travis asks, any chance next-gen NVIDIA GPUs, RTX 3000 series, will be out before April 16, 2020? Cyberpunk hype is real. I know, Keanu's awesome. You're amazing. I think, yes, it could be, but I think it's end of next year. I'm not sure. I'm not sure when these are coming out. They just did a super refresh. What does that tell you, right? I kept saying, ever since I made this channel early this year, NVIDIA should make an RTX 3000 series on 12 nanometer, except they didn't. They didn't make an RTX 2000 series on 12 nanometer. They did a super refresh. That means they're worried about Navi, but that also thinks they didn't think it was worth it to make an entirely new lineup. And I really think they should have. They really should have used the fastest GDR6. They should have unlocked all of the dies to the maximum amount, giving you 12 gigabytes with a 3080 Ti. They could have increased performance by 20% and crushed Navi, but they haven't. What that tells me is their next lineup is coming, but not right away. But it's coming sooner than whatever. So I don't know. I think late next year is probably when NVIDIA comes out. I'm not sure, though. They might do an RTX 3000 series on 12 nanometer and go up to the full reticle limit. Remember this, guys. The RTX 2080 Ti is 754 millimeter squared. They can go up to 850 on TSMC's 12 nanometer. So they could go up another over 20%. No, wait. Over 10%, like 15% more die size. Use RAM that's 20% faster and add some tweaks. They could make a 20% stronger lineup than what they have now. And maybe it would only be 20% stronger. But you know what? Maybe they just make it cheaper. So I think there's a chance that could be out. And maybe with better ray tracing performance early next year. If they're really blown away by Navi, they'll probably just do that. Is have a 12 nanometer 3000 series. Otherwise, I just don't think their 7 nanometer series is going to be ready till late next year. I don't. But I'd be happy if I was wrong because I love competition. Yeah, I hope Cyberpunk is good. It probably will be though, right? Okay. Got like 1 minute left here. Still see almost 600 of you here. So again, last minute tip questions now. Otherwise, I'm going to answer like 2 more. Already had the equivalent of, this is the equivalent of what, a 4th beer? Yes, I'm not drunk, but I'm definitely buzzed, dude. Do I think the 5900 XT will have ray tracing hardware? Will RDNA have RT? I think so. I think the 5900 XT will have ray tracing hardware. I think it just makes sense. But I'm still not sure what the 5900 XT is going to be. It could just be 10% more compute units and HBM added on top of the 5800, but then I don't know. But I expect the 5800 and the 5900 XT to have ray tracing hardware, but I don't know what it is. I'm hoping it's almost just a ray tracing ASIC that's like a 70 nanometer or 70 millimeter squared chip they add next to it that does it for them. I think that's the best implementation. Think about it. Use Infinity Fabric. Make a ray tracing ASIC and put it on next to the die. I think that's the best way to do it. When will we see RDNA chiplets? Well, you're going to see them next year for professional cards, but I don't know about gaming cards. It just doesn't seem like it's there yet. And like Adored said a million times, I just don't think that's going to be standard until consoles also do like Crossfire or something, because the devs just aren't going to use it. Even if it was on consoles, we've already seen what they do sometimes. So I don't know, guys. I really don't see, according to AMD, chiplets for graphics cards are already here for professional uses, but for gaming, it's just different. There's latency penalty issues that are a big deal. It just doesn't really work the same way a CPU does. And think about it, like since what, right? For 20 years, you've been able to use dual socket gaming rigs. Technically, you want to use 2 Xeons, you can. It's right there. You can do it. But I don't know. I don't know for mainstream gaming. I just don't see it coming anytime soon. Eventually, maybe. But so to answer your question, I don't know, 2021. I really just don't see it coming soon. Unfortunately, I would love it. I'd love to be proven wrong. All right, 30 seconds left here. A ray tracing card separate from the GPU. I agree. Or better yet, again, ASIC with Infinity Fabric next to an AP, like next to the die on the PCB. You have room on those PCBs. Just add a ray tracing ASIC. That's, I think, the future. I think. I'm not an expert, but I certainly think that just makes common sense. All right, scrolling up and down, making sure I didn't miss any tips. All right, going. Yeah, and they do already have, NVIDIA's already made quad chip Crossfire professional cards. So they could go all the way up to 4 already. When's the next stream going to be? Always around the end of the month. I did this one early because I've got a Navi review, 2 podcasts, and I'm seeing Tom Segura live this weekend, by the way. So I'm way too busy this weekend to do the live stream. So I just had to knock this out quick. I've also banked like 3 or 4 videos. So that will be coming out this week. Of course, I'm always on Discord and answering people. Tommy Buns. That's right. But that's it. Nope. You guys tip me. That is all. We're done, guys. This is the longest live stream. Easily, I am done. And I do a live stream roughly every 3 weeks. It's usually every month, though. And of course, if you are a Patreon member, you can ask me these questions in the Discord. You can send me these questions on Patreon, and I will just answer them. So consider supporting me on Patreon. And of course, like, subscribe, share this video. There's a lot of shit to share in this one. Holy crap. I really was on a roll here. And I hope you enjoyed it. I'm glad I did it early today when I have a lot of energy, so you guys can get a lot of content. Yeah, I'll see you guys in all the other videos. Probably do another premiere with Arcturus or something where you can ask me a couple questions as well. And again, I do these at the end of every month. All right. Bye.